Before I go any further, I really want to say thanks for coming out here to the OSSCP chapter. I haven't really, as an activist, I've been all over the country, but I haven't really spent much time in Missouri. I did ask Dan if he knew Derek Ray. Derek Ray is a local activist within the November Coalition in the St. Louis area. And he helped me really launch the November Coalition in a way, because he discovered a whole bunch of tapes, archival tapes that a local pastor had of training tapes from inside the prison where they're beating on people and calling it training tapes. And we actually released it to CNN through the November Coalition and helped the November Coalition on that. So Derek Ray passed away a couple years ago. I just wanted to dedicate my trip in a little way to Derek, who's a great activist. And I said something yesterday about individuals, and it's a very sparse crowd. That doesn't bother me in the least. I want you to know Derek is a good reason why. If you go on Google and you look up Derek, you'll find out that he was sitting in his office. It impacted people in Canada and Europe and all over the place just by diligently trying to help and do a good job. He volunteered at Mapping Media Awareness Project and read about Google, Derek Ray, RPA. So anyway, before I get into a little bit of personal stuff and all that, which is my work is based on artifacts. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about free history, my free history, stuff that I haven't actually done artifacts for. But just to get you, to that point where I do have artifacts, I want you to know, a little bit about the initial use of cannabis as medicine. Today you might think the first use of cannabis as medicine was in 1996, but actually, it is said that some 5,000 years ago, it was already written in a pharmacopoeia by Edward Moon that cannabis was medicine. And if he were to be involved in writing an initiative today, he would include things like gout, and malaria, and rheumatism, constipation even, in that state law, from his perspective, some 5,000 years ago. So these are not new ideas at all. One of my colleagues in the Museum Project located the oldest cannabis actually active plant material still in existence, and it was some 2,700 years ago. And he found it in China, and you can read about that in Google as well, Dr. Ethan Caruso. So that's, there you go. So you're talking about a plant that we've already been writing about for 5,000 years. Probably one of the original plants that have been located as a species. And you got a picture of a very stinky plant, very resinous, loaded down with food, seeds. I can imagine the very earliest of our seekers for food finding that plant and finding the food from that plant, and thereby finding the psychoactive properties as they try to clean the sticky oils from their hand, which we call hash. So, I guess to start the story about the medical history, I need to tell you how I got into this. I was a child in the 70s. I talked a little bit about that yesterday. And I don't back away from that from the least. I really enjoyed my relationship with pot, marijuana, whatever, back in the 70s. I joke with people that I learned what I knew in high school about marijuana from Cheech and Chong. That's not really far from the truth. There wasn't much to learn. If you look at the books from the 1960s and 70s, like the elementary school encyclopedia, the word marijuana wouldn't take you very far. It doesn't teach you very much. But at the same time, I was a child of the auction business. My mom and dad ran an auction company, and I worked at auction company. I was a child laborer, working 10 hours a day with no pay, in a sweatshop. No, I'm just kidding. An auction business. Carrying heavy furniture up and downstairs. But I actually loved it. I really, really did. And I said something about the TV shows that I think they really do well capture the thrill of being able to go through an infinite variety of human junk, stuff that we created. It's the history of our activities, our passions, our love, our dislikes, everything is captured in these artifacts that we somehow carry with us, through holocausts and earthquakes and tsunamis or whatever. These little tidbits of our past are so meaningful to us that we held on